In the opening scene of the movie, we're shown a video recording from the Malum flock compound. The recording starts with a group of girls having a good time on a small lake. However, the scene then cuts to an abandoned house where the girls are taken to perform a cult ritual. In a turn of events, a girl is brutally killed as part of the sacrificial ritual. We then see Captain Will Lauren in the men's locker room where he's being applauded by his colleagues for rescuing 3 young girls who were taken by the Malum flock cult. He's not happy since he hasn't saved all 4 of them. Meanwhile, in another room, 2 police officers are training by shooting guns when suddenly Captain Will Lauren enters and shoots them both. After this, he takes his own life while confessing his love for his daughter Jessica and wife Diane. He also mentions that he believes he will be safe in the arms of his master, the demon. A year later, Jessica visits her father's grave. It is her first day as a police officer and she is requested to work at her father's old station. Later that night, she heads to the Lanford station she was assigned to, but the neighborhood she must pass through to get there is very unsettling and violent. Upon arriving at the decommissioned police station, she meets an officer who gives her a tour. However, when she mentions that she's Captain Will Lauren's daughter, the officer's attitude changes, and he becomes unhappy. He tells her to stay out of the holding compartment and leaves. Jessica's alone in the station and decides to go to her father's old locker to try and open it. As she tries to open the locker, she hears a noise coming from another room. She goes to investigate and hears the sound of a basketball bouncing on the ground from the basketball court. As she approaches the court, she sees a figure in the dark on the other side of the room. She quickly runs to turn on the lights, but when she does, the figure has vanished. As Jessica returns to her father's locker, she finally succeeds in opening it. Inside, she finds numerous newspaper clippings and books that detail ritualistic murders that have taken place in Lanford dating back to the 1990s. One of the victims was Betty Campbell, and the papers mention a group calling themselves the Flock of the Low Good. Jessica also discovers news of John Malum, the leader of the cult, being killed by the police. As Jessica continues to review the papers, she hears a pig's voice at the door. The pig has a name tag that reads Betty, and although she was warned not to let it in by her boss, Jessica allows it to enter. In the following scene, Jessica hears a man shouting from one of the rooms and rushes towards the sound. When she arrives, she finds a homeless man whom she has seen earlier on the street. This mentally unstable man is holding a woman's shoe and muttering the words, "Where is she?" repeatedly. He's searching for his daughter Betty, who went missing due to the Malum cult. Jessica tries to restrain him and takes him to a cell, but she ends up getting trapped inside the cell herself. In this intense and stressful scene, Jessica shouts for help to free herself from the cell. Suddenly, 3 dead bodies hanging from the ceiling emerge, causing her to panic even more. Just as she thinks she's trapped, the cell door opens and she's able to escape. After this stress, Jessica calls Officer Cohen in the middle of the night, seeking an explanation to understand what just happened. He tells her that if you enter the holding facility, it makes you hallucinate, so just stay out of there and continue your job. Soon after, Jessica discovers more papers from her father's file and notices the same Temple Baron symbol she saw on the pig earlier reported on the pages. She also discovers a USB drive. Later on, Jessica heads to her car to retrieve her laptop. On the way, she witnesses a woman being thrown out of a car. Jessica quickly takes the woman to the station to give her first aid. The woman begins to talk about the tragedy that happened in the station, but suddenly she starts muttering and promises not to say anything else while staring at the glass in front of her. When Jessica looks in the same direction, she sees nothing there. The woman's eyes fill with tears and she freezes before letting out a loud scream. Jessica is terrified by what just happened and orders the woman to leave the station. As the injured woman leaves, the phone rings and she answers it. It's the same girl who's been prank calling repeatedly. The girl tells Jessica that she's Monica Matthews, one of the girls that Jessica's father rescued a year ago, and that both she and John Malum, the leader of the cult, are going to kill her. After the call, Jessica gets the information that all 3 girls her father rescued have disappeared. Realizing the situation, Jessica starts to piece together the clues and understands that her father's death and the disappearance of the girls are connected to the cult's ritual. She also realizes that the cult is still active and they are after her. In a race against time to save Monica and uncover the truth, Jessica uses the USB drive to decode the files she found in her father's locker. Jessica watches the contents of the USB drive and discovers a horrifying video of the cult performing a ritual sacrifice to their god. As she tries to turn off the video, she finds that she cannot. Suddenly, the video starts showing her as if she is being recorded from behind. In front of her, a box is thrown along with a shooting target paper that reads, "Still here." She's horrified by what she sees and realizes that the cult has been watching her. Then Jessica heads to the shooting practice room to investigate the shooting target paper she found earlier. She discovers that one of the shooting targets has a paper stamped on it, displaying her father's picture along with news of his rescue. Another shooting target has the symbol of the Temple Baron. As she tries to examine the target, a terrifying demonic spirit with a towel mask suddenly appears and starts to chase her. Jessica tries to escape and run away from the station, but she finds that all the doors are chained and locked, trapping her inside with the demonic spirit. In the next scene, Jessica has had enough and calls her boss officer to request backup. She's ready to leave the station and get away from the danger she's facing. The officer tells her to wait for backup before taking any action. As she finishes the call, another phone rings. Jessica picks it up to hear a horrifying sound that echoes throughout the station. The sound is bone-chilling and sends shivers down her spine. She realizes that time is running out and she must find a way to escape the station before it's too late. Jessica then watches the interviews of John Malum and his followers that her father recorded on the USB drive. As she watches, she's suddenly taken to a place where she's surrounded by other dead bodies. However, she quickly realizes that it's just a hallucination, brought upon by the demonic spirits surrounding her. Then 2 cops come to the station as a backup to take the homeless person in the cell. One of them goes to the cell to get the person, while the other tells Jessica what happened on the night of the murder about her father and how he was not right the day before the murder. He even shows her the weapon used by her father. Meanwhile, Jessica sees herself when she was just an infant baby in the hands of John Malum. She's being baptized by him in the name of his god. He states that she is one of them. Back to the present world, she watches the video from the USB. This is also while she was just a baby. Diane, her mother, was just talking to her baby girl about how her daddy rescued them from John, but how John will not forget and finds them in the future. It seems like the time has come. While watching the video, the pig comes to her room. It has become a scary monster trying to kill her, but she shoots it down. In the subsequent event, Diane has come furiously to talk to her daughter because she's assigned to the old station where all the tragedy has occurred. While chatting about the events, Diane confesses her mistake, saying that Jessica was going to be one of the cult members since she had been baptized by John's blood when she was a baby, but they ran away to be free from them. Although they had been free for many years, he found them a year ago. Then Jessica hears a sound coming from the basketball court and rushes to the site, leaving her mom in the office. There she finds Monica Matthews held at gunpoint by one of the cult's members. The cult member tells Jessica that John Malum wants her for a ritual because she's their chosen member, and that for the ritual to be successful, a power must be delivered to Jessica through human blood. Suddenly, the cult member kills Monica. In a fit of rage, Jessica pulls the trigger and kills the cult member in retaliation. Jessica realizes that she's in grave danger and starts to run for her life as she's chased by a group of people wearing scary towel masks inside the basketball court. These are a flock of the Malum members who have been brainwashed by John Malum's teachings. Jessica rushes back to her mother but finds that she's not there. As she starts to panic, the phone rings and she picks it up. The officer on the other end of the line informs her that the flock is planning to raid the station and asks about her mother's safety, even though he couldn't have known about her mother's presence in the station. Jessica starts to realize that the caller's not the officer, but John Malum himself. She understands that the cult has been watching her every move and knows her every secret. She begins to feel trapped and alone with nowhere to turn for help. As Jessica's talking on the phone, she sees the homeless person from earlier in the hallway. She realizes that he's been controlled and has become full of blood. He lunges towards her, attempting to kill her. With quick reflexes, Jessica pulls out her gun and shoots the homeless man, stopping him in his tracks. She knows that the cult's power is spreading and that she must act fast to stop them from causing more harm. In the next scene, Jessica runs to the other side of the station, determined to find any remaining hostages and stop the cult from causing any more harm. As she searches, she comes across the second girl who was a hostage. However, it's too late for her. The girl has been brutally beaten and is hanging lifelessly from a rope. Jessica feels a sense of sadness and despair wash over her as she realizes that she was not able to save her in time. Soon after, Jessica reaches the other side of the station and finds a man wearing a towel mask brutally attacking the third hostage. As she runs towards him, the man slits the hostage's throat, killing her instantly. Jessica finds herself in the cop's locker room, where she sees a demonic image of her father. She confronts him, asking why he has done what he has done, including killing the cops. The demonic figure responds by saying that hurting people is what cops do. Jessica knows deep down that this is not her father speaking, and she continues her search for a way to escape the station. As she walks through the hallways, she sees violence and chaos everywhere. The flock is killing people indiscriminately. In one of the rooms, Jessica finds a woman who's hanging from a rope. She tries to save her, but a demonic power tightens the rope, causing the woman to explode, and her blood pours over Jessica's body. Now, Jessica's determined to put an end to the cult's evil plans once and for all. She picks up her father's old weapon and sets out to kill each member of the flock one by one. When she reaches the main ritual room, she sees that John Malum is sitting on his throne, looking more terrifying than ever, with his rotted skin and scary appearance. The room is filled with candles, incense, and various objects used for ritualistic purposes. The ritual that the flock is performing is blood sacrifice, which involves the offering of a blood to deity or spirit in exchange for blessings or favors. So the Malum cult is performing a ritual that involves the sacrifice of a human being in order to gain power and favor from the Temple Baron. Then a Temple Baron approaches Jessica, claiming that her spirit will feed the demon. Jessica, determined to protect herself, shoots the Temple Baron, but as she does, the skin of his face peels off and gets stuck to her face. As Jessica tries to remove the skin from her face, she's suddenly transported to the middle of the station hallway, still holding her weapon. In the next scene, Jessica, still in the middle of the station hallway, begins shooting in every direction as she hears voices coming from all around her. Suddenly, a scary figure wearing a mask emerges from the shadows in front of her, and she shoots it right in the chest. As the figure falls to the ground, she's horrified to discover that it is her own mother. Overcome with emotion, Jessica becomes tearful and begins to sob uncontrollably. As she sobs, spirits from the cult emerge from the shadows, applauding and laughing at her. Jessica realizes that she has been caught in a trap. In the final scene, Jessica is filled with sadness and disbelief at the realization that she has killed her own mother. As she grieves, a scary spirit slowly approaches her and whispers something in her ear. Jessica's expression changes and she picks up her gun from the ground. Suddenly, she sees a vision of her father who's shouting while holding Diane's dead body. Overcome with the grief and despair, Jessica realizes she can no longer bear the weight of the trauma and pain she has endured. With tears in her eyes, she takes her own life, and the movie concludes. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.